Friends, family, and keepers of the faith, welcome to another Del Boy blog. And as normal, we'll date stamp this. It's year 3, blog 52, or in legacy numbers, blog 156. And it's dated 16th of February 2025. And I look outside like I normally do, and it's a standard February. And in my memory, I think to myself, wow, it's moving so quickly this year. We're approaching year 4. That's next week. Year 4 of me doing my blogs with a guest. And I've enjoyed, I think, pretty much every Sunday of doing them. You know, there have been occasions, the heart attack that caused me distress. Actually, I was thinking more about you guys than I was myself in regards to that. I think I mentioned that before. So sorry if I repeat myself a little bit. But we'll talk a little bit about my week after I read out the news. And unfortunately, I wish the news was better. It always seems doom and gloom. I don't think it will always be that way. I still have high hopes for 2025. But as always, it's just a date stamp. We tried to fly through it quickly because it's just to really tell my nephew and nieces what was going on the week that I did this blog and possibly what might have been on my mind. So we start off with the war, as always, because the Ukraine war started literally, I think, about 2 to 3 weeks before my blog started. So the war has been going as long as this blog. So we've got in the news, European leaders set to meet next week for an emergency summit on the war. The meeting is in response to concerns the US is moving ahead with Russia on peace talks that will lock out the can't read my own writing. Basically, it will lock out others. Zelensky says he has not received an invitation to the talks and repeated he would not accept any bilateral deal agreed by the US and Russia. Yeah, so it's a big. This is big on the news since last night. It's happening again this morning. All the news feeds are enticing you to see a video live that's going on in regards to this. I mentioned last week that Trump had phoned Putin for a peace talk. They were both agreeing that that would happen. What I don't like about all of this is that how can you have a peace talk and not have the Zelensky involved? I totally agree with him. I've heard other things on the news. He was talking quite big about there should be a European army. I was listening to this and thinking, no, NATO is what we've got. And NATO is what needs to change and be there. I don't agree that a European army is needed. NATO just need to agree faster, get funding faster for anything like this that's happening again. And if Trump is thinking, I'll talk to Putin and we'll agree that the war stops, and where the war is at the moment in regards to land, that land will stay with Russia, that's wrong. I wouldn't agree with that. But we all want peace. So I will say that. So we'll move on to the UK news, and hopefully I can read my scribble a little bit better. Plans are afoot to protect UK steel industry as Trump sets to impose 25% taxes on steel entering America without exceptions. So just like it started with the last Trump administration, he wants to build his industry. He doesn't care about fossil fuels, all of that. The steel industry is massive. So he's basically saying, if you want to bring steel into my country, I'm going to levy 25% taxes on it, which means that you have to buy American steel. I understand protecting your own interests, but my God, without exceptions, we both are in each other's pockets, is how I have read it this week. Basically, if you want something from us from America, because of our, friendship and so forth, the deals are quite good. Trump comes in and goes, oh, stuff all that. I'm protecting my own interests. I want America to be bigger than it actually already is. So basically no exceptions. No. Again, another administration which I don't agree on. The rest of the news, the BAFTA ceremony is set for broadcast at 7 o'clock tonight, with the film Conclave leading the field for nominations. It's got 12. It's bigged up to get quite a lot of Oscars. I've seen the film, think it's great. Apparently a lot of the American stars are over here. The BAFTAs have always been a ceremony that sort of indicates how the Oscars are going to go. I think that statement gets less and less every year because most people know how the Oscars are going to go now. I don't know if it's anything to do with equality and all of that sort of stuff in regards to gender and all of that sort of stuff. America is very, very big at the moment in regards to transgender, ethnic actors and writers and production staff and all sorts of stuff, which basically means they want to show equality, and so it comes out in their product, which basically means even if you're showing something that's historic, that might be in regards to Shakespeare or in regards to slavery or whatever, it will be either abolished and not in there, or they'll put whatever they want in there, like an ethnic actor to play Macbeth or whatever, regardless of how it was written. I think, as I've always done, the best actor or actress should be in the part regardless of colour. If I don't agree that a poor actor or actress goes into a role because they need to meet a checkbox that basically says we need an ethnic actor in this role, I don't agree with that. It should always be the best person for the best role. So that's just my opinion on that. I do have an opinion on that one. Very little about the rest. And the last one was maybe a little glimmer of good news. 6 new drugs, including a treatment for patients with advanced breast cancer and to treat a rare type of epilepsy, has been approved for use by the NHS in Scotland. Now, this sort of seemed like a good news story. Then I read a little bit further that there is also another drug that delays Alzheimer's disease, but it's deemed too expensive. So it's not been given the green light. It's not been given the green light in England either. And that's sad. I think really there needs to be talks in regards to this. Higher up production, lower manufacturing costs, whatever it takes. It's a killer. It's really eating into my family an awful lot. Alzheimer's, memory loss, all sorts of stuff. Let's get that one going. And then on Friday, there's an actress that died. Her name is Maya Wolf. And it didn't ring any bells with me when I was looking at the obituaries. And then it actually stated where she came from. And oh my God, Just this week, I've been watching Auf Wiedersehen Pet. It's been repeated on ITV. When you can't sleep, you just switch through the channels. And I love that program, and I love it so much that the script can make me sleep because I know it off by heart. So I don't even have to look at it. I can fall asleep and know exactly what's going on, with my eyes shut, which is great for sleep. And she was in the 11th episode, I believe. And she has a classic line in it. I can't remember what the line is, by the way. Yeah, she died this week, and then it said that she was also in Doctor Who. So I had to look this up, and yes, she was a receptionist in a Peter Davison Doctor Who episodes. It's early 80s of Arc of Infinity. So she was a receptionist in Amsterdam when Omega was trying to take over the Doctor's body to come over into our universe. Very good story, but of course I'm probably alienating a lot of people. But apparently she's been in bit parts of Tenko, Bergerac, The Professionals. I listen to those episodes and I go, yeah, I've seen Tenko, I've seen Bergerac, seen Professionals, seen Doctor Who, Auf Wiedersehen Pet's great. You'd think I would instantly therefore know this person, but until I saw a picture of her, I didn't recognise her at all. So yeah, sad news. Age 72. Don't know quite how she died, whether it was a long battling medical condition, but always sad to hear of another death. My childhood gets smaller every week, and that's really the news. So normally we talk a little bit about me. I'll just have a drink. And it's been a bit of a mixed week. It's been actually really, really good. Until I started to feel unwell, unfortunately. I'm not feeling well at the moment. So if I do need to take stops, I do apologise. But unfortunately, I'm getting dizzy spells at the moment, and I think it might be just a little bit of sleep deprivation. And of course, the tablets I'm taking are quite strong. So I'm not thinking anything bad about it, but there's no pains in my chest, nothing like that. I have been extending my walk, so it could be also that the longer I walk, the more tired I get. But if I can't sleep, then I just get more and more tired, and that's what causes the problem. But there's nothing really to report. Work was Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week. No problems there. And of course, I'm taking some holidays in February because by the end of February, I have to use up my whole allocation. I wish it had been March that it went to. It would have been much easier, but unfortunately, it's the end of February. So anything I take after the end of February ekes into my year's allocation. Okay? So I have to be a little bit careful after the end of February. So Thursday came along and it hit me that my mother's birthday is Valentine's Day. That's why my mother is called Valerie. It's very easy to remember her birthday, February 14th. So, of course, I mentioned last week that I was going to do something for her, and I did. I bought a nice bottle of Asti. It's one of her favourite drinks, is Asti. And I took her for a pub meal on Friday. Quite late, because she didn't want to go. I tend to find that my mum's more relaxed towards the end of the day than she is at the beginning. She's very, no, I don't want to go anywhere. I'm tired. I want to just sit here like that in the morning. But then she loosens up a bit, looks out the window, sees people go by, etc., etc. So she had lots of cards. I bought her 2. One from me and one from the stray cat we've got that comes into our house. So that cost me a bit. Cards. Birthday cards. Aren't they expensive? These were £2 each. That was £4 for cards. Yeah. So I bought her favourite chocolate, which is caramel chocolate. So she likes Cadbury's chocolate with caramel middles. And of course, with it being Valentine's Day, all the Christmas chocolates have gone straight back up to the price of they were at Christmas, because you can buy them for Valentine's Day, can't you? So I didn't fall into that trap, luckily. So it was really just going out for a meal, and it was a shame because I did get a phone call from my friend Denny, who I haven't spoken to since, well, believe it or not, Denny, just so that you know, we haven't spoken since Christmas. Wow, on the phone, that's a long time. And, it's one of those things where I mentioned it in my blog that I was going to do something for my mum, so Friday was always going to be a no-no. And my danger is that he said, don't worry, we'll talk. He sent a text message, we'll talk on Monday. But I know on Monday I'm just going to be so tired. I'm just going to be falling asleep. I won't hear the phone. Talking for a couple of hours means it will take it away from me preparing my mum a meal or anything like that. It's going to be difficult. But it's very important I speak to my friend Denny. I'm desperate to speak to him. So, I'm going to have to try and work how to work that out. But there we go. So Friday was great. But then after Friday, when I was prepping my blog, I was noticing that the paper was sort of going double. I was seeing double, which is why it was difficult to read out that part about the war just now. I'm not worried about it. It's the first time I felt anything like this, so I'm still very chipper. Other things that happened this week, nothing really much. The stuff from Amazon turned up, no problems. There were a number of releases that were coming out on Steelbook and Arrow and so forth. I've only ordered what I think is considered exceptional as something that I really want, and I've scrubbed the rest. So there's an awful lot I haven't ordered. And that's really because this year I think is a year where I need to really start saving. I need to get a pot of money up together to pay my credit card bills, but also to pay my sister out when, if anything happens to my mum. So I do need things like an ISA or something like that. So I'll be looking into that very shortly. What else? So I had my lovely chat, as I always do, on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I have a chat with my friend Ian Hill of Ramblings. I couldn't believe that we started off just after 8 o'clock. It was only a couple of minutes after 8, so we weren't late or anything, really. Chats always tend to start a little bit later. Sometimes I have a conflict with what's going on with my mum or whatever, which makes us a little bit late, and it's always me. But no lateness this time. And we had a great chat, and it lasted till 1 in the morning. 1 in the morning. It was so lucky that I wasn't going to work on Thursday. So I had the luxury of going as long as we needed. And that was great. And we learnt about some films that are coming out that we're both looking forward to. Lots of discussion about films from the past. Some TV stuff was in there. We talked a lot of stuff. I did all I could to make my friend laugh. Took an hour this time. Took me an hour to do my little persona of a rant that got him smiling and laughing where he couldn't stop. Always the most fun part is me trying to make my friend happy, which is, I think, a good thing, because every rant I do is non-pointing at anybody or anything that would cause offence. So that's always good. So that's the week, really. Not bad. And like I say, if it weren't for the fact that I get a little bit dizzy and I'm a little bit tired at the moment, I'd be having a whale of a time. So we'll move now, might as well, straight away into the shout outs. And again, thanks to everybody that actually has, sent me a comment and wished me well and wished my mother well and happy birthdays as well to my mum. All of that, all lovely and appreciated. And I'll read them out now. So we've got, in no particular order, they never are, Steve's Gaming, Ian Hill The Ramblings, Martroid, Wee Bob Art, Andy Loves Stuff Channel, Robert's Retro Gaming, Denny, Muckman-Movies, Colin Jones, aka Ponder, and Carl Todd. Thank you so much, all of you. Every single one of you has left me a comment and so forth. And although I can't read all the comments that are in other videos that I do appreciate them. What I mean by that, well, it's been a busy week as well for things that I've been doing on YouTube in regards to gaming. By the way, the film stuff is coming. It takes a little bit more prep for doing film stuff. Gaming stuff less so. And I've been finishing off my series on a game called Astrometica. There's a couple of people, Frank Holder and I think Andy Likes Stuff, that have enjoyed the Astrometica series, but I think it's reached a point where there's less exploring and there's more just flying around getting resources, which I think is really a bit boring, to be quite honest. I do find it relaxing playing that game because there's very little threat now level in it. So you sort of like just enjoy the visuals and enjoy me flying about, doing silly things. So yeah, I can understand why it could continue. So I'm going to get it up to 20. I don't like odd numbers. So we'll get it to 20 and then we'll stop there. And then, of course, there's a game that came out early February called Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is one of the most anticipated games this year. Many people have already labelled it, this is the game of this is the game of the year. There's nothing else that's going to even come close to this game, which I would say is a bit of a boast. I wouldn't quite call it that, but I'm having fun. And I've got up to episode 4. So I've done a lot of videos, and each video I've done of that has been an hour. And it wasn't until episode 4 that I got past the tutorial stage. 4 hours of tutorial. I mean, think about that for a moment. It's a heck of a lot. But then again, I'm learning a control system and I'm making mistakes and all of that sort of stuff. So, basically having a ball with that. And I've started off only yesterday asking my friends for me to play games and for me to record it. And then, so people can watch me die an awful lot, I think is what generally happens. And they're all sort of like games from the past, so there's a lot of nostalgia involved. So I asked my friend Steve what game would he like for me to do for the very first one of this series, and I am calling it Season 2, Round 1. We got to, I think, 7 or 8 rounds in the last one. And he gave me a game and I put it on and we'll see how that one goes, Steve. I'm hoping that the people that enjoyed the first season will enjoy the second season as well. A lot of you have come back to me and have said, I've already got games lined up for you. No problems. Thanks very much for that. I think that sounds exciting to me. I'm hoping they're not all one type of system, like they're all Spectrum or they're all Atari. I'd like it to be a mix. And I don't care if you want to give me balls hard games to play. They've just got to really fit in a very small form factor, which is about 20-25 minutes. I think that's a good time. Mamemeister always turned around and said he used to like watching the videos from me on this because they were that bite-sized chunk. Don't have to look for an hour at somebody trying to play something. I'm in agreement with this. You don't need to see me die for 20 minutes. Dead. It's the whole point is to get an essence of the game. So, yeah, fantastic. I'm looking forward to hoping that goes quite well. So, as I said, I've been feeling a little bit dizzy. So I've just done the shout outs. Thanks to every single one of those. Salute, you're all my friends. Absolutely fantastic. You all make me feel like I'm wanted and needed, and that's enjoyable to me. But I just need to take a pause, just to clean my glasses, splash a bit of water on my face. Although I'm pretty sure you can probably see I'm quite chipper. It's just I've got some of this stuff as well. Look, that I've bought. Optrex stuff. Bloody £11 a box this stuff is. Just to help with my eyes. And I'll be back in a moment, and then we'll start reading the comments out. Won't be a moment. So I'm back and I've splashed my face and I'm all okay and all that sort of stuff. So let's get into the comments, shall we? I mean, I tend to find that most people like me reading out the comments. If it promotes their channel, absolutely fantastic. By the way, most of these people do have one. They're big friends of mine. They're part of my Discord. They're part of my friends Mamemeister's Discord. Big community. And it's a mix of people that are into films and are into games. And that makes me happy because that's the crossover point for me. I love games. I love films. I wish I could do more stuff with films, but I do my weekly with Ian, and there's going to be more reviews and more unboxings. It's just a matter of setting all that up. You'll know that probably from the amount of different views you see on this blog, the overhead view, all of that. I think of all of that as ways to show off something, like a film or whatever. So I don't want it just to be my face and me talking. I mean, bit boring, I think that. So, more stuff is coming. So we'll read the first one, and the first one in no particular order is Carl Tom. What's he put? He's put, "Hi Del, thanks as always for answering my questions. I hope that both you and your mum are doing well. I think that in the past you mentioned a new management position coming up at work. Is this still a possibility? I hope you get a chance to go for it due to all your experience, etc." Well, I'll just explain that. Yeah. I had to do a new whereabouts chart for work. And in that whereabouts, you have to put all the locations that my team will go to, because we have to go into the office at least once a week if possible. It's actually designated as 2 if you're not a carer. I'm a carer for my mum, so I go in once a week. So there's all those locations. Then there's when you're out the office. Then there's when you're on training. Then there's when you're going to meetings from out of where you work. Then there's your home location, so you have to put whether you're working from home, WFH, that is, working from home. And of course, there's not applicable, in other words, you weren't here. And then there's when you leave. And of course, we've got 2 major contractors that have been here for 2 years now. And there is a law that basically says you can't be rehired, but there is always this grey area where you can leave and come back. But it's as a different type of person. Still a contractor, but it's very grey area. I don't know too much about it. So we're heading into major projects, and 2 of the contractors are leaving. One of the contractors has been training me up on everything he's been doing, and I'm taking control of that. When those 2 go, that means that they are managers of a sort. Those positions come up. So is there a possibility of me going for another job? Possibly. All depends on the discussions that are going to be going on in the next 8 weeks in regards to extending their contracts in a way. They might move into another team, say. That makes them different. But also, they might still have threads into the old team, because our team is part of a big ITIL SACM team, or CALM team we call it, which is IT related. And so therefore they could move into another position but still have input into the team I'm in, and so therefore would still be a manager of that particular project. So yeah, it's tricky, difficult to answer on that one. So you continue. Did you have a look at the Arrow sale? I looked very quickly when the email arrived, since I was working, and I saw 4K titles in the list at £9 each. That's a very good price. I thought that was a better than expected price, so I added titles to my basket. Then I saw that box sets such as Chucky 4K were also £9. Must be a mistake. But I added 9 items. 9 items! Wow, man. And went to checkout. I expected the checkout to fail, but it went through. I then expected an email to say that my order is cancelled, but yesterday I received a dispatched email. So I will wait and see. Looking at the Arrow website, all the titles have changed prices. The Chucky box set is now £65. Fingers crossed that I got a bargain. Yes, mate, I've got my fingers crossed for you. I got Chucky. It was one of those ones that I bought. I complained about the quality of it, like a lot of people did. It wasn't quite right. And I sent it back and got a refund, but they sent me another one, and that one wasn't charged. So, of course, I got mine for free. That Chucky box set is not a particularly high point in Arrow's last year's releases. I'm telling you now, buddy. But for £9, that's an absolute bargain. Absolute bargain. You will need to look, though, in regards to the contents, because it's not all 4K. There is Blu-rays in there. But it's actually the box set itself, the actual box design, that's poor. £9 though, mate, bargain. And I hope you got some absolutely fantastic deal. I looked at the Arrow sale. There was really nothing there for me because I'd bought them already through the year. If you look at my previous blogs, you'll see there was a lot of Arrow content. And the stuff that was in the sale I'd already got that I wanted anyway. So I didn't take a punt on anything else. The Arrow stuff that's coming out is equally strong this year. It's pretty good. I've ordered the Spaghetti trilogy there, so I've got, a fistful of dollars, a few dollars more, the good, the bad, and the ugly on order. I don't think there's much else on Arrow that I've ordered. I think I've ordered The Long Kiss Goodnight. That's it. Dressed to Kill intrigued me, but I think I avoided that because I've got it already in a form that I think is good enough for me at the moment. That might change. I might buy it in a sale. But yeah, there wasn't much in the sale because I'd already got it. But fantastic to you, matey. My God, you got everything I bought last year for a pittance. So brilliant. Because there's some great stuff in there. There's things like Last Starfighter and Life Force, but I'd already got those. So in Arrow format. So that's brilliant. So your questions, here we go. If you could build your dream 8-bit computer, what components, specification would it have, e.g. Commodore 64, SID, etc.? That's a great question, and it's a question I asked my friend Mamemeister. I said, what about the Commodore 64 would you change? Because, to be quite honest, I marked the Commodore 64 as a benchmark. It had a little bit of everything, but it wasn't exceptional in every area. Right. So, if I could change certain things, what would I have? So, I'd have a computer that would have a SID chip in it. Definitely. If we're not changing anything about it, I'd change that to a dual SID. Everybody mentioned that. When I asked about my question, everybody went, oh, a dual SID. The next thing was the typewriter keyboard. Now, I never really had a problem with the Commodore 64 keyboard. I knew what Commodore were doing. The VIC-20 came out with its breadboard design. Commodore wanting to cut costs, therefore put their new machine in the same case. Makes perfect sense. Just change the colour. There you are. You've got one of the most powerful 8-bits out there in a cheap case, and you get a cheaper price. So yeah, would I change the keyboard? I think the Commodore 128 possibly had the best keyboard out by Commodore at the time. And so therefore the Commodore 128 was a Commodore 64, wasn't it? So I wouldn't really change too much there. You've already got a great keyboard, a Commodore 128 keyboard. The VIC chip. There's a few things I'd change about the VIC chip. It's got sprites, and I might change those to 16 sprites rather than 8. So a few more. And I'd change the modes of its graphics to be more like the Atari 800. And believe it or not, the Atari 800 is a much older machine. It's the end of the 70s for that. But look at the color scheme that the Atari had. My God. Commodore had 16 colors, and they were very muted. Browns were dull, reds were dull. They weren't vibrant reds, vibrant blues, and you know, that's why everybody thinks of the Commodore as having brown everywhere, because it didn't have a proper red, believe it or not. So I'd change the color palette. Sprite multiplexing would still be there, so that's not a problem. So that's the graphic chip out the way, the sound chip out the way, the typewriter part out the way. When it comes to the processor, yeah, it was too underclocked. It needed a faster clocking. I'd still keep it 6502, 6510, but I would increase the speed of it for definite. That would make certain modes for vector graphics, say, better. But do remember the 128 had a Z, you know, it has a Z80 chip in it, a co-processor, but it was used for CPM. So, you know, having a dual processor that could possibly manage some of the sound and input outputs, while the 6510 managed the rest, is possibly an idea. It had 2 joystick ports. I don't think it needed any more. Its input-output was a cartridge and cassette and disc-based system. I'd definitely change the bus speed for loading of games. That's about it. I don't think of anything else, really. The machine was a great machine, but it wasn't a quantum leap difference to the Atari 800. But it was darn impressive. And if you look at the games that are even coming out now, it just shows if you knew the machine inside and out back in 1982, you'd just be laughing. You'd You couldn't wait for the next game to come out. So absolutely fantastic. Hope that answers your question. And your next question is, now that Hammer are releasing 4K discs with now that Hammer are releasing 4K discs, what future releases would you like to see? Yeah, so we already know that the second title is called Four-Sided Triangle, which is a square, as Muckman said in our chat on Wednesday, which has already been out on Blu-ray, which you can see on Mondo Celovich's channel. And he's got an idea that the next titles might be incorporated into the film adaptions in their magazine called House of Hammer, or Hammer House of Horror, I think it was actually called. I've got those magazines, a lot of them. Anyway, don't think I've got all of them. I think I'm missing 2. I have to look in my CLZ disc catalogue program. But Four-Sided Triangle has no comic adaptation on it. So I have a doubt on whether that is the perfect way to look at things. But I am in agreement that the third one could be A Million Years BC with Raquel Welch. A Hammer production that is well known, been brought out a number of times, but would look brilliant in 4K. Yeah, even if it's a bit lacking in regards to vocabulary, you know, there's very little speech in it, very little talking, and it's more about living in that environment, you know. So yeah, I think that one could possibly be the third one. I want all the classics, you know. I want Dracula and the Frankensteins and the mummies and all of those, the Peter Cushing, the Christopher Lee films in 4K. That would be a dream. Yeah. Quite easy to answer that one. Thanks very much. You say you have to dash now off to see the new Captain America movie. Take care. And I hope you have fun with that. Just to reiterate how I'm looking at films at the moment. I'm not looking at what people have said before the film. I'm only interested in people's opinion after they've seen it. And I want to hear a more tolerant view on things, not moaning and whining because it doesn't do something for you in regards to story or how it's been told. It's a comic book adaptation, modernized, and it has to fit in a square. Has to fit in a square in regards to Marvel, and they've got a plan of 10 films, or whatever. So these films have to meet that timeline. You then can watch this from start to finish and understand why they did something a certain way, which makes it awkward because if you're looking at it from a singular perspective, it will be lacking. It will always be lacking. So I'll be looking at it with a glass half full, and yes, I've got tickets to see it, so I will be going to see it. Or should I say, I've got a pass for a month in March, so in 2 weeks' time. And that's when I'm going to go and see that film and probably see a lot more films each week for at least a month, because it's for my local VUE cinema. So there we go. That's that one answered. Thank you so much. Salute, my friend, to you. And we'll move forward to the next one. I don't know who that is. Just scrolling down, and it's my mate Denny. There we go. Like I say, no particular order. It says, hello, mate. Again, not much to add from last week, as work has took most of my free time again. Yeah, tell me about it. Shame we couldn't chat the other day, but I hope you and your mother had a wonderful birthday meal. Yes, I explained to him I couldn't answer the phone. I was on my way to give him my mum a meal. Hopefully Monday after work we should get that chance to have a chat. Hope so. I've given you in the early part of this blog my concerns. If we don't, I'm sure it'll be in a Friday or whatever it is. We've got to get a chat in. I miss our chats, and there's so much we need to cover, which means that we'll be talking for a couple of hours, and then I've got to worry a little bit about what I can do about my mum. So if I work till 4 o'clock, and we have a couple of hours chat, that's 6 or 7 o'clock. It's in the evening again. So yeah, I tend to find it's very difficult at the moment. Anyway, so then you say, you have said for many weeks that you wanted the war to end. Trump has called Putin, and there looks to be some dialogue going to happen, which will hopefully put an end to it. See my news bit. Yeah. I know there has been two sides to the argument. One saying giving land is an option to Russia. The other side just want the killings to stop. Both are adamant they are correct. Personally, I just want to end and for any more lives not to be lost. What's your take on this, Del? And I've always said I don't want to have too much of an opinion. I said I just want the war to end. They've just talked about the fact that they're going to hold peace talks, but Ukraine's prime minister or president is not even invited to this. That's the wrong approach. That would get my back up. If you want to do peace talks, get you all round the table to talk. You can't just have a chat with one side and then say, here's our decision. No. So I want the war to end, but I also want it that all parties have a representation so that it's not just one-sided. So that's my opinion, if you want one. But yeah, I want the killing to stop. That's part of it, you know. Thanks to Ian on one of his latest videos showing Supernatural, a series by the BBC released by the BFI. I've also bought this along with another title from the BFI called Dead of Night. Both pretty cheap and both look fantastic, dripping in atmosphere and very 70s. And this is where I miss our conversations, because both of you seem to be on the ball in regards to this sort of stuff that's out there. I haven't got any of it. I feel like the person that's been left to one side a little bit. Some of it is me falling asleep and then waking up so late that I can't really look on the phone for all the things that would make it so I see these as well. So the conversations we would have had would have helped. I recognised on my Discord that you'd put in a picture of the man with X-ray eyes. I didn't even know that was coming out. So yeah, it just shows what was coming out. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about what I've been watching film-wise a little bit later on. You continue. An interesting move last week from Disney. They are cutting back on DEI initiatives. What that actually entails is unknown, but there does seem to be a domino effect with companies following the same path. Hopefully, this will be put an end to the politically driven drivel we have had to endure for far too long. I think you mean there, not endure. Yeah. DEI, that's that diversity, equality part of filming, which I've sort of like talked a little bit about. As I mentioned before, my opinion, the right actor in the right role, the way it was written. No tick boxes to show 15% of actors in this picture must be of ethnic origin. All of that nonsense. Don't need it. Don't want it. It's not required. There's plenty of other projects out there where that ethnic group would fit. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's gone too far. It needs to scale back, and I totally agree. Talking of DEI drivel, you can tell this comes from Denny, can't you? Avowed by Obsidian looks to be the latest game taking a mauling in the press. The Skyrim killer is basically a watered down Skyrim clone. Nothing I've seen has impressed me or made me want to play it. Shame, as I had high hopes for that one. When I watched Wertherby, he said sort of like the same thing. I'll talk about what I've watched and what came up on YouTube a little bit later on. It was a game I was hot and intrigued on. Less so now, but not for the same reasons as you. No, he happened to mention that if you can get past the DEI drivel, then the story is okay. If you look at the characters in the film, in the game, that's where the problem lies. Because it's not just the fact that they're pretty much all women. Every single one you talk to. In fact, I think the first 12 characters that you bump into, that you have a chat with, are all women. All women. Apparently, it looks great. It plays great. The skill system's great. The crafting system is great. It is just this DEI part that if you can get past, there's a good game. Because I've got the game Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it's made me think, no, I don't need this game for 55 quid. It sounds very much like buy it when it's on a sale. So I am thinking twice about buying it. It might free up some cash as well. But that's all I can say about it. I was really excited about Avowed. I am a little bit more tempered in water temperature in regards to it. It's not boiling anymore. So question for this week. Do you intend to watch the new Captain America film at the pictures? And what's your current thoughts on the content already out about it? And as I've said, I know of production problems, rewrites, actors in it, no longer in it, back in it, reshoots, etc., etc. I will still see it. It's a Marvel film. And as you know, I'm a Marvel collector. So, of course, I'll see it. I don't think there's one film I haven't seen. I even went to see Kraven the Hunter at the pictures. So, you'll probably, if you're in my area, probably see me going to the cinema to see a Marvel film. But yes, less excited. I haven't been excited about a Marvel film for years and years and years. This one doesn't excite me either. So yeah, it's going to be one of those. Go in, get your opinion and watch it, and probably watch it in with a bunch of other films to see how it's going. The Fantastic Four First Steps trailer intrigues me more than this brave new world that Marvel are currently kicking up about. I hope that gives you an answer, Denny. But if you know me well, so really I was going to say I'm going to go and see it. So I don't think there's anything strange there. So the next one we've got is from salute, my friend, and look forward to our chat. Next one is from Steve's Gaming. Hi Del, great blog again. So thanks for that. About the Greenfell Tower. I think if they pull it down, that they should build a memorial to the people who died in the same space. It shouldn't be forgotten. I hope you are feeling well and your mum is a bit better today. Oh, And I want to say I'm enjoying your Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 series. It's going to be even better now that you're out of the tutorial section and are free to do whatever. Okay, question time. Ooh, that sounds ominous, doesn't it? Question time. Question 1. Of all the t-shirts you have, which is your absolute favourite? My favourite of the ones I own is a Spectrum one with all the Ultimate games on it. Oh, that sounds immense. Attic Attack, Trans Am, my God, that would be brilliant. I think I've seen some Ultimate ones. I don't know whether I've seen it with all of their screenshots or anything over them. But yeah, that sounds great. Let me think. It'll be a Spider-Man t-shirt, I would think. I've had a number of t-shirts. When I used to go to America, and I used to go to all the different cities like Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, yeah, that's a city. Las Vegas, San Francisco, California, Ohio, so Cincinnati, I've got one, yeah. New York. I've been to all of the Planet Hollywoods and what's the other one that was there? It's Planet Hollywood and Rock. Rock Cafe. You know, Hard Rock Cafe. Every time I went to those places, I bought one T-shirt of each of those. And then when I went to the theme parks, Universal, Epcot, Disney, I bought a T-shirt there. And I bought this lovely one, this Psycho T-shirt. It was the Psycho house that had the house at the front lit up, and on the back it was silhouetted, and all of the stars that were above it are unique in the fact that no two t-shirts are the same. There was some with more, some with less, so it made it a very unique t-shirt. I also had a t-shirt made for me by somebody who does spray painting. You know, the spray painting that you put on the side of boats and all that sort of stuff. This guy did a Jaws one, done with spray paint. Gorgeous because it's unique. Done by this artist that spray paints boats for a living. So only using spray paint, by the way. So you bought a white Fruit in the Loom t-shirt, blank, which was about $10 or something. And for $20, he did a unique design. So absolutely fantastic. That's one. But I think my favourite is a Spider-Man t-shirt. It's actually the front cover of Spider-Man 100. So you're going to have to go and have a look. Spider-Man 100. It's probably got the best looking view of Spider-Man. And it's got the heads of doom all around it. And they're in negative. So in other words, white lines, black background. So they look like they're a negative of a film, where Spider-Man's in a positive. So it gives it that sort of like edge, and it's a cover as well that I loved as a kiddie, and of course it's my favourite artist, John Romita Sr. So yeah, that would be my favourite T-shirt. Question 2: food and guilty pleasures. What food is your guilty pleasure, and how often do you have it? Question mark. Mine is a takeaway curry from the local Chinese, and I have it every Saturday. All my best for my friend, and love to your mum. I wish a happy birthday from you as well, matey. You probably didn't know that it was her birthday. But let me think. Well, as a kid, my favourite meal was sausage, chips and beans. Very basic, I know, but I love that. I like making potato bakes. That's that cream sauce that you make. It's like a cheese sauce, but you scallop the potatoes. You get a potato and you slice it into mandolins and layer it like a lasagna, but with this cream sauce. I like potato bakes. I love Sunday roasts. My God. How How often do I have them? Well, the Sunday roast we now have just for Christmas meal. We don't have a Sunday roast anymore. I make potato bakes and shepherd's pies and stuff for my mum and me. Those work out really quite well. I like pizza. How often do I have sausage, chips, and beans? Rarely. And if it is, it'll be a Saturday, and it would be from the local chippy. What I mean by that is my mum likes to have certain things that my dad used to do, and he used to go down to the fish and chip shop on a Friday, and we'd have those while watching the Friday night TV. So my dad would always buy a sausage. We'd never buy the beans from the chip shop because they were always cheaper just to put the beans in a little saucepan and cook them yourself at home, and they would be the Heinz type and all of that, and it'd be much cheaper than the chip shop. So yeah, sausage, chips, and beans. Last time I had that 4 months ago. So yeah, some of these ones that are passions of mine, don't get to eat them too much anymore. So salute, my friend. Thank you so much. And again, like I say, sorry for the little breaks, but I need to have another one. And I'll be back shortly. Honestly, won't be long. So I've just finished with my friend Steve's Gaming. Little get you bastard. Fucking hate you, you little shit. Your channel's just too good. You get you bastard. Can't not do my little salute to Steve. Absolutely fantastic, and like I say, one of my best friends, and thank you so much for your questions, and I hope I answered them well for you. And I'm so enjoying your stuff. I'll talk about that later on. What I've done to try and help with the cross talk that I'm getting with the writing, as I've tried to make it bigger. I've used the control of the mouse wheel to make the writing stand out, so hopefully that's a little bit better. Otherwise I might try changing my glasses. I've got 5 pair, all different, and they might help. Might be something to do with that. I might get my eyes tested, actually. That's a good idea. I haven't been for 2 years now, and you are supposed to do it every 2 years. So anyway, I digress a little bit there. Let's get to the next one, which is my friend Ian Hill, the Ramblings, who I have a chat with on Wednesday. And he's put, "Hi Del Boy, hope you're okay. And it was good to see you looking like you are enjoying life." Yeah, I am absolutely loving it. And I'm having a much better time in 2025. No hiccups or problems. It's actually going really quite well. And I really do appreciate people that leave comments and so forth, that make me feel wanted and needed. Absolutely fantastic. I hope your mum will be doing okay despite the lapses in her memory, which I know must worry you. Just always enjoy the times you have with her. As usual, enjoyed our Wednesday live where we had a good time with lots of laughs whilst getting informed. I know I sound like a record that's got stuck, but at various times in the week I've continued to feel very cold. I'm looking forward to spring when hopefully things will warm up. I'm looking forward to trying to get into town too. Yeah, and you mentioned in our talk that you can't believe how many episodes we've done now on a Wednesday. We're sort of like an established part now on Wednesday. I certainly look forward to it, and I think it's going to be even better when spring comes along. We won't feel so depressed. We'll be going out a lot more. We'll be talking probably a bit more diversedly on what we're doing each week. It's really quite good, and it'll be interesting to look back at the very early ones that we did of our blog and how they reflect on the next ones, because that's what's happening with me. Next week will be year 4. You can then look at the whole of year 3 and go, wow, and you can see the mistakes and the thing and the demeanor changes, all of that sort of stuff. I certainly feel a lot better. I've had my hair cut. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. I feel very lightheaded. Terrible joke still coming. And eyesight aside, feeling so chipper. I'm playing a lot more games, watching a lot more films. Things are going okay at work. There's a lot to like, So you continue. One of my favourite films I watched this week was Blink Twice. I saw it on Amazon Prime. I loved it so much that I bought an exclusive HMV Blu-ray copy of it. I know it will be in my end-of-year favourite films released in 2025, though it's got a 2024 date. The film just kept me guessing and wondering what was going on. The big reveal was so clever. What a great script, with some great acting. Also added to my collection, 2 BFI releases, Kosh Boy, 1953, and The Good Die Young, 1954. Both had a young Joan Collins in them. What is impressive about these releases is the amount of extras. One included another full-length film. Then to top it, you get booklets too, full of information. Yeah, BFI have always done some great stuff. I haven't got too much BFI. I mean, I've got Get Carter, that's there. Watership Down, I think that's a BFI. That's in there. I need to probably diverse a little bit more and get some of these titles. I haven't heard of Kosh Boy and The Good Die Young, but you intrigued me with this Blink Twice. In fact, you said at the end of our chat, you've got Amazon Prime. Please watch it. Tell me what you think. I'll be doing that, possibly doing it today. I looked at Sunday's television. What a load of shit. Still the same old crap. So, yeah, I think I'll be doing that. I hope I can stay awake and my eyes can take it. My question this week is, that damned apocalypse has returned, doesn't it always? Right? You can put 5 books in your black bag to keep. What 5 books would you say? Do you know what? I bet you any money you've watched the Twilight Zone episode, Time Enough at Last, with Burgess Meredith, where a nuclear bomb went off. He had time enough at last to read these books. He stacked them all up because they hadn't blown up with the nuclear bomb that had gone off. And he smashed his glasses and couldn't read one of them. Fantastic. One of my favourite Twilight Zone episodes. You've turned that into a question. What a remarkable, brilliant question to ask. Let's see. Well, I mean, it'll come as no surprise to anybody that watches this blog that The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy will be one, right? Douglas Adams, my favourite book. I've seen it on stage. I've seen the TV show, listened to the radio show, watched a disastrous film. Oh my God, that's so bad. And it continues to make I get enjoyment. It is a series of books. You know, you've got the restaurant at the end of the universe, and you've got So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. It's a series of books. All of them are absolutely fantastic. It's got one of the best openings, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's got one of the best opening chapters I've ever read. And whenever I'm a bit depressed, I read that and go, isn't life wonderful? You must read that. It's literally about 4 pages long. That first opening of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And it just blows me away each time. I'd have to have, I don't know if this can be included as one, but I'd have trouble choosing between War of the Worlds and The Time Machine, both by H.G. Wells. As a kiddie, I loved them. I'm a little bit like Doc Brown from Back to the Future in regards to H.G. Wells and Jules Verne. Fantastic books. Read them as a kiddie, loved them. We used to have a book club, you know, at school where you could buy books, and they only offered us books by one company, which was Puffin. Do you remember Puffin? Puffin Books. And they didn't really do the classics in their range, which was a shame because whenever my friends bought books, they had these brand new Puffin books. They smelt lovely. They were always immaculate in design. They were white books generally, you know, the covers were white and the spines were white with the Puffin label at the top. But I always looked for the science fiction ones in there. War of the Worlds, Time Machine, I think you could include that as one, I think. And it's very difficult to name books but I'd like to have one autobiography book. I don't care what it is. Could be Elton John, could be Ridley Scott, could be, I don't know, Frankie Howard. I don't care. I always like reading autobiographies because most of the stuff that I'd buy would be from autobiographical on a particular actor or actress or comedian or whatever, and they would talk about times that I lived through. So those are great. But then on the other side, I'd want to have a history book. You know, it could be on the Tudors, it could be on the Stuarts, probably more the Tudors. I'd like to have a book on something to do with Henry VIII and the times that were going on, or anything about the Fire of London, the Black Plague, famous battles, you know, Napoleon, all of that sort of stuff. I love to hear about what the kings and queens planned, the wars, how the weather affected it all, who won, what it meant for winning, how it changed history. Love all that. Yeah. And yeah, there's a book here. I'd probably have one of these movie guides. Now, you'd think, well, why are you going to carry that in an apocalypse? Well, although you can't see the film, you can read the synopsis of it. So I could turn into here and I could read about, I don't know, what have I turned to? Extreme Prejudice, or The Eye, or Eyes of an Angel, or Eyes of a Stranger, or Eye of the Beholder. All of these are books. All of these are films. And some of them I will have seen, well, quite a lot of them. And I'll be reminded of what those films were like. So that wouldn't be a bad book to keep in my collection if there's an apocalypse. Just because that little synopsis would bring back so many memories. Rather than just one film, a synopsis on that film, everything that made, how they made that film. Those are all equally good. But just think, having to be able to read a book like that and remember what that film was about. Yeah, I'll do that. That answers your question. I think you've put best wishes to you. Have a reet grand time, as he always says, because he's a northerner. Can't call him northern softies because he calls me a southern softie. I'm an adopted northerner, so we have great time because I lived in Manchester for 7 years, so he can't exactly smash the hell out of me for being southern. So we do have our nice little battles, and that's great. I always enjoy my time talking to Ian. And Muckman and Cy Robson and all of those absolutely fantastic people. I have a great time. Tell you what, Cy Robson, what a character he is. I wish he had a channel. He comes into our chat and he talks about the joy he has going to the pictures with his friends. You know, he goes with several people that I know, Ryan and Sam and all of those, and he always comes away with an understanding and his own opinion of a film, and he sees stuff that's older, you know, like The Visitation and The Accused, and we've all watched those, and he comes back and he gives his input on them. Thank you so much. So enlightening to have a guy like that around that can tell us about that the old films are not being forgotten by cinema. That's very important to me. And that's great. So, salute, my friend. Thanks very much. I've got two from Martroid here. So, Martroid is next. Salute to Ian. He's put, hey, Del. I just watched the trailer for Llamasoft's iRobot, and I'm rather excited, to say the least. Have you seen it yet? Have I seen it? Of course I bloody well have. And I've wishlisted it. Like I think Ponder has. I think he wishlisted it. iRobot is one of those weird arcade games with a great history to it. I mean, if you actually look at the history of how arcade games were made. That one's got a fantastic history. Now that Jeff Minter's got his hands on it, oh my God, how trippy is that game going to be? It's going to have all the elements because he knows you don't touch too much upon an arcade original. But then when you can add your own bent to it, like mini games or whatever, or you can add your own spin, change the colours, all of that sort of stuff. I just hope he doesn't Tempest it too much. Do you know what I mean? He loves his Tempest, and he likes to bring in all the elements of, or some of the elements from Tempest in every single one of his games in the last 10 years. So, I think it's going to be pretty good. I think it will bring him back on form a little bit after. Some people think that Anchor R is a weird game and a game that was just too out there to be playable. I play it and I understand it and I get quite far in it, but I haven't played it for a while. I might go back to that actually. So fantastic. By the way, it's so warm in here. I took my fleece off. I hope you don't mind. So yeah, definitely am I looking forward to iRobot. That's a big yes. And I'll read your other one out, which is a bit further down. It's got, you put, I did a spot of fishing with a friend the other weekend, Del. Had to throw everything I caught back, though, as they were all undersized. Christ, we had to throw all ours back because it's, basically what you do in fishing when you're in Britain. Then right at the end, I caught what appeared to be an absolute monster. Honestly, it was the most exhilarating 40-odd seconds of my life until my mate realised I'd merely ensnared the burly trap. So disappointing, but absolutely hilarious. Do you have any good the one that got away tales to impart? Fishing related or otherwise? I do. And it was one that my father loved to tell because it just showed how stupid I am, but also it made everybody chuckle, which is why I was happy that he actually kept telling it. And I was young, I have to say. My dad was a big fisherman. He was a water bailiff after he retired. He knew everything about the reservoirs, the canals, where it was best to fish, what bait to use, what weights to use, whether it was best to use a tip or a float, all of that sort of stuff. He was there, you know what I mean? I don't think I ever saw him fly fish once, but he was a big pole man. He used to use a big pole with a tip. So he used to like fishing deep. So yeah, or so far that it was the other side of the bank where the reeds were, which is why he used a pole. Yeah. I never got on with a pole. I found it too cumbersome. But when I was a youngster, I got my first fishing rod and it was small, very small. But it taught me all about floats, line, weights, hooks, the type of feed, whether we're to use hemp or whatever. And it was about the learning of what to do when the float goes down, right? So I had this fishing rod and I'd cast it out and he said, right, keep your eye on that float. When you see it bob down the water, you need to just move slightly to the left because you need to hook its mouth. That's what you explained to me. Of course, just like you, I'm really excited. I'm there going, God, can't wait for this. The float wasn't going down. I was casting out and going to different positions. And finally, about half an hour, 40 minutes, the float started to bob down, twitched and then went under. And of course, you're supposed to just tug it just slightly. Of course, I went like that. This fish went flying through the air and it landed in the hedgerows at the back and all my fishing line got tied up with it. And we had to sort of like go there and untangle it all, get the hook out of the fish's mouth. That's the first thing we did, was get the hook out of the fish's mouth and put it back. but it was the untangling of the line. In the end, I think we had to cut it. And my dad used to tell the story that this fish didn't go into the hedgerow, went into space. He said it went into orbit, this fish. First fish in space. My son put. And it used to make people laugh, and I didn't mind that. And yeah, it's a little story. I'll never forget it. Miss my dad an awful lot. That brings back memories. Thank you so much. That's cheered me up and made me a bit tearful as well. Yeah, great times with my dad. I wish I was a better fisherman. I wish I was a better sportsman. I think he'd have appreciated it more if I took an interest as a youngster more than I did as an adult. As an adult, I was with him. As a child, I didn't understand going fishing, playing football. I was not that way inclined. I was quite weighty. So, of course, I didn't really go for it. In my adulthood, we talked and talked and talked, watched Muhammad Ali fights, all that sort of stuff. I went to the bookies with him to put a bet on the Grand National or, whatever it is. It was a great time me and my father had. But anyway, thank you so much for the memory. Absolutely fantastic. And we get to Wee Bob R. And he's put, cheers for answering my question, Del. 1 hour photo is a good shout, as is The Lovely Bones. Difficult watch, but good. Never seen the Cannibal movie, thankfully. On the VR, I do use Unreal VR with pinball effects quite a bit. My PC does struggle a bit to give a decent experience using UEVR. My 3060 Ti, that's exactly what I've got, by the way, being just good enough to play some of them. I do have 48 gig of RAM. Right. Anyway, great blog as always. I'm wondering why you might be having some drops. Are you using Wi-Fi or are you using a cable? Now, I have to admit, when I'm playing Alien in VR using the Unreal Engine VR app, no frame drops. And I've got that running at quite a high resolution. The same with Quake, same with Half-Life. All of these, and this is not Half-Life Alex, by the way, that's Half-Life, the standard Blue Shift. And a few others like Unreal Tournament and so forth. They all work immaculately on mine, but I am using a cable, and it's the expensive one that MetaQuest actually recommend rather than a cheap one. Now, I wonder, I do know that they've made huge changes to Wi-Fi and getting a good frame rate using Wi-Fi. So, I basically wonder it might be something to do with how your MetaQuest is connecting to your PC. The RAM will help, but not with the connection. It will help with running the game. So you're quite right. But I've got a 3060 and I've got 32 gig of RAM. So I haven't got 48. But again, I don't know what your processor is. I don't know what DDR RAM, whether it's 4 or 5 or 3. No idea. I take it you're using an SSD. So, not sure. But I hope it gets better for you. Pinball is a great way to play in VR. It really is. Still watching along. You continue, but want to comment before I forget. Question for next time. I love ninja movies as a kid. I guess it was that wonder about the Far East in times before the internet existed. Do you like ninjas? Question mark. And what would be one favourite movie and one favourite game? That is, if you like them. For me, I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Hero is the UK for some reason. Yeah, it was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles over in the UK. Game would be Saboteur. Cheers and all the best to you and your mum. Yeah, you've mentioned a nostalgia trip there. Saboteur on the Spectrum was great. Not so great on the Spectrum, on the Commodore 64. I think it looked too much like a Spectrum for me to enjoy that game. Very little sound as well. The Commodore 64's got a SID chip. So I think it really, really suited the Spectrum Saboteur. Durell Software. Interesting little documentary on Durell by Seb's Place, by the way. I think I mentioned that a little bit later on. Can't remember, but Seb's Place, anyway, definitely talks about that. But you go back to your ninjas. Now, I'm not big on ninjas, no. Let's think. Well, you mentioned Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so that'd definitely be a film. Yeah. I recognise that as a comic book more than I do actually a game or a film, because that's where it started for me. But yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'll tell you, when all this ninja stuff was going on, and you had things like Free Ninjas Kick Out, California Ninja, Surfing Ninja, all that bollocks as far as I'm concerned. There was a TV program with Lee Van Cleef called The Master. Didn't last very long, about 13 episodes. But I love the theme tune to it. I loved Lee Van Cleef. And I like the idea that he was an American ninja trained by ninjas that he wanted to pass on to this young apprentice. I really did like that. So I'm going to mention the TV series more than the films, because other than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, didn't really go for it. And I didn't mind beat 'em ups, you know, all the Street Fighters and all of that. I've played them through the years, on and off, and I've loved things like Fist 2 and all that. But that's all karate, kung fu. I've even liked judo, you know, as a game. I think, do they have Alan Jackson? Is it judo or something like that? Can't quite remember. But there was what they call a series on the Xbox called Ninja Gaiden. And I think it was a series of 3 games. And they had what they call a master collection a couple of years back. That must be 10 years now. My God. Rock hard. Absolutely rock hard. But I loved them. And so I'm going to go with the Ninja Gaiden series as my favourite ninja type game. But, of course, how can you miss Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as a side-scrolling ninja game in the arcades? Absolutely fantastic. And, of course, there's been a number of ports over to home systems and consoles. And you can play it through MAME. So, and on the Mister. So, yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles can't not list that. Probably the most high profile ninja IP is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know, even though you can consider how many ninja games there are and how many ninja films there are, you can't avoid them. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Strange one. Hope that answers your question. You put cheers and all the best to your mum. Salute to you, my friend. Love your channel. Thank you so much. I hope people do go and look at your channel. And we move on to Andy Like Stuff. He's put so many lost films in the 80s and 90s. We never heard about The Razor's Edge. One of them, a lot of Americana in all these films. I think I know what you're getting at there. I, myself, didn't know Bill Murray was in a film in 1984 called The Razor's Edge. It's very drama-based, very army-based, all about changing your life and looking at life differently. And that's a very strange film for Bill Murray. And it's one of those ones where, has anybody else heard of it? Because, you know, we've heard of Stripes, you know, and Caddyshack, and, you know, Ghostbusters, and all of those. But we tend to only think of those titles because they're quintessentially him. Groundhog Day being definitely one of my faves. So it's nice to see a film, The Razor's Edge, where it's a different type of film. Lost in Translation is a great film. You wouldn't expect Bill Murray to be in that film. Oh my God, what a film Lost in Translation is. Fantastic. Thank you, Salute, my friend. Absolutely brilliant. So we move on, and we've got gaming legend and Canadian royalty, Robert's Retro Gaming. And he's put, hey, Del, I'm going to get this in early so that I don't forget about it completely. I almost always watch the first hour or so of your blog on a Sunday morning and then come back for shorter watches during the week. Great to see that you've managed an extra short blog this week. Did I? Extra short blog. I think it was about 2.5 hours, wasn't it? In the end? Don't know. I've been very glad that you are doing well physically. Keep at the physio exercises, even if you are not going to see them anymore. Of course, walking is great. Yes, and I've extended my walking. I've actually managed, well, I still only did 4. I wanted to do 5, I did 4. But I did 2 3-mile ones in there. So I'm not too disappointed. And that's because I had a bit more time off from work. So I was able to go early morning instead of getting up early morning and going to work. So I put my walk in there. And it was really good because I saw the sunrise. That was really nice in the week. Really did put me in a good mood for the week. Walking really does clear my mind. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. But I am going to physio again. Remember, I said in my blog, if you've managed to listen all the way through, that I'm referred to another type of physio. And I just need to get the place that they're going to hold the lessons at sorted. So that'll be done shortly. Regarding your PC, have you turned it off and on again? You cheeky bastard. Yes, I have. I have been an IT technician for a number of years. Turning it off and on is a good way. You're quite right. All the best to you and all the best to your mum. Thank you so much. And my mum, yeah, I think she's had a great weekend. She said she was very happy today. She said she's had a great weekend for her birthday. And I read out some of the birthday comments from Facebook. I put a picture of my mum on Facebook. My sister's in the background, texting on her phone as normal, not really paying too much attention. And we were having a little conversation about what we used to watch on TV. My sister was intrigued about Lizzie Dripping, which was a BBC witch, a children's TV show about a witch. She said, I'm sure this witch used to sit on a gravestone, didn't she? And I said, yeah, the 6 episodes, Miss Sister. Go and watch it. I've got the episodes. So, anyway, that was an interesting conversation. All the best to you and all the best to your mum. Thank you so much, Robert. Keep up your good work on your channel. And we're getting very now close to the end. Oh, he's done it twice for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe that's actually YouTube pissing about. It's from my friend Muckman-Movies, who you might hear a little bit more of because he's going to be one of the people that is going to choose a game for me in my new series, where I ask my friends to choose a game for me. So you might hear a bit more from him. It's got, hi Delboy, hope you and your mum are well and you treat her well on her birthday. I hope I did. It's my mum. You mentioned War of the Worlds as one of your favourite science fiction films. Have you been to the War of the Worlds immersive experience in London? We went after the new year and it was great. Definitely recommend it. Right. The immersive experience is one of the only things I haven't done. I've been 3 or 4 times to the musical stage show. I saw it with Liam Neeson. I saw it with oh, what's his name? God's sake. Anyway, look, I'll show you my favourite War of the Worlds item. Here we go. I show it off quite a lot. Yeah, it was Richard Burton. They did a hologram of Richard Burton, then they did it with Ian Nielsen. Gary Barlow was involved in one of the ones I went to. They brought it back every couple of years, and it's always been. I've seen it at 2 places, one in London and one at the Birmingham NEC, or what used to be the Birmingham NEC. This is my favourite War of the Worlds collector's edition, other than my double album. It looks very much like the double album. In fact, actually, would it be better to do it with the overhead cam? Possibly. There we are. And it's 7 discs. And they put them inside the cover there. Look, just there and in the back. They're all the remixes that have come out through the years. I even bought a PC game called War of the Worlds, you know. Which was like a real-time strategy game. But this book is gorgeous. You know, it talks about H.G. Wells, talks about how the record started in 1975. I got it in 1977, I think, or 78. It was bought for me. All of the designs. Then just how happy Richard Burton was receiving a gold disc award as well. So much talent went into this production. And then you've got the stuff that the album had, all these beautiful gatefold pictures. There we are. I always remember that one. But the one that startled, the one that was Thunderchild, the boat one, because it always had Forever Autumn, but the picture of it was great. There we go. Absolutely love that picture. Gorgeous. Anyway, that's War of the Worlds, and we'll go back to the new camera. So I haven't seen the immersive one. I know of it. You put VR headset on, and you listen to the music, and it's a fantastic experience, I believe. And I'd love to do it. It's in London. Maybe one day I'll go. Maybe I'll get somebody else to go. Always find going to these things by myself a little bit of a lonesome trek. Do you know what I mean? Because when you do finish going to something, you like to talk about it afterwards. Who have I got to talk to about it? No one. I'll be just heading back on the underground and getting back on the train, thinking and humming the experience and the music. A very lonely experience is that, and that's what I tend to find. Anyway, another question you put. What is your favourite game to film crossover? I used to have a bit of a guilty pleasure with the Mortal Kombat film, but not seen it in ages. I think Silent Hill is probably my favourite game-related movie now, though. By the way, I'm pretty sure you watched all 3 of my videos last week, but no mention of it on your blog, you bastard. Unsubscribed. I wonder why my figures went down. Thanks very much for unsubscribing, you miserable bastard. No, he knows me very well. I'm so sorry. I said in a text to him, I'll correct that. So you will see it. You will be hearing about that in a little while. But I tell you what, most people know in my blog that movie crossovers were very big in my youth. Having a Commodore 64, VIC-20, playing on Spectrums and Amstrads, Amigas and Atari STs. every film possible was converted into a game. But you've said your favourite game to film crossover, not film to game. So those are actually very far, in between. You've actually mentioned Silent Hill, which was a film turned into a game. Mortal Kombat was a game into a film. So film into game, which is a slightly different thing. Last of Us. How can we forget Last of Us? Last year's fantastic dramatization of the game Last of Us. It's got to be up there in the top 5 of anybody's collection when they mention that. Let's have a look. You mentioned Silent Hill. I'm not a big fan of Tomb Raider the film, but it is a game to film, Tomb Raider, and it's not that bad. Not that bad. So I'd mentioned Tomb Raider. And that goes the same with Resident Evil. Started off, actually, Resident Evil, really good. Turned stupid by about the 5th film. So, again, not a fantastic title to mention. And, of course, we've mentioned already a lot, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. A comic turned into a film, or a game turned into a film. Depends on which way you look at it. Or film into game. Difficult, that one, because you got to look back at the history, and I'm not quite sure which came first, the scrolling beat 'em up in the arcade or the film and then into the arcade, because it came out about the same time as the Simpsons arcade machine. So yeah, a little bit later in the 80s. I think that's it, really. There are many others, but they're all hit and miss. So I'll leave that one there, Muckman. Hope that's sorted that out, and thank you so much for your comment. You're a great bloke. I really look forward to our little chats that we have with Ian, even if it is in text form. Absolutely brilliant. So I think we're getting to the end. We're moving now to Salute, by the way, to Muckman. We're on to Colin Jones, aka Ponder. Just read the first line. Short my ass. Right, now, Colin, he's put, this is only going to be a short one. I may have to send you a dictionary. Only joking, of course. Sending my regards to your mum as always. For video editing, I use Caden Live, which I think I may have mentioned before. And yes, it does work with Windows. It's free and quite powerful. Yeah, I've got, I use the Adobe range, I have to say. And the more I got into it, the more I liked it. But it is a very long-winded process, editing. And I always wanted to be an editor when I was a kiddie. When people were talking about I want to go into space and all that. I loved film, and I always said that the best job must be the editor, because he sits with the director, which must be an absolute honor to do, and then the editor works with the director to get all of those elements, side shots, free shots, long shots, close-up shots, to get the film. So you see the film in a long format, then cut down to a shorter format. So you know what? All the bits that were cut out. Wow, what a privilege for that. You then continue. The 1950s and 60s were probably the pinnacle of science fiction, both good and bad. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Noah and Nelly, that brings back some memories, yeah, doesn't it? And the Skylark, well, what can I say? Paper Play with Itsy and Bitsy, the spiders, yeah. I was taught, this is when my memories come out, and I couldn't quite remember the names of the spiders, but I remember them, fluffy little bastards. Fingers crossed on Bury, but you do have to look after yourself and your mum first. Yeah, we're doing a road trip in March, I think it is. I think it's next month. Bloody hell. They'd like me to come along. I'm hoping I can. It's still up in the air. I wouldn't be able to go up there and come back in the same day. My eyesight would be affected. And today's just showing that. But I'd love to be able to go up, have a chat, have a pint, have a curry with you guys. It'd be great. Brilliant. I know I'd have a good time. You know, fantastic. It is a comfort to hear that you're doing as much as you can in regards to the sleep deprivation. Yeah. And actually, I got the letter through from the physio people that send it to my doctor. And it actually mentions that I want to talk more about my sleep deprivation and that they recommend that that is looked upon and expedited as fast as possible. So maybe that will get them to jumpstart, because I've phoned them up and said I want to speak to my doctor. He never phones me back. It's bloody awful, really. I'm at the age now where I also just want it to work. But thankfully, I have enough experience and knowledge to fix things when they go wrong. You do have the edge on me regarding Windows, though, and I'm not afraid to ask for advice on this. No, and I'll tell you what, I watched this week. This is just to show you what tech heads do. I'm not big on Windows. It's just, it has been my life. I was looking at a guy who bought an old HP machine. I've got one. It's behind this monitor here. You won't be able to see it. But it's got on there, what's it called? Baracetta or something like Batasera. Anyway, this guy's bought the exact same model. Small factor. They call them small factors, or SF PC, which is like 7 inches by 4 inches by 2 inches, you know. And he's turned it into a Minecraft server using Linux, Ubuntu Linux, and a few other apps. And he actually shows what he did to the PC, what in regards to memory and so forth. Bought it for $50, this machine. By the end of the video, it cost him $97, and he had a game server using Linux. And he showed how to install Linux. You know, it's really just a matter of etching, you know, the free version of Linux, changing the boot order on your PC, letting it install, asking yes or no questions, writing down the IP address for the local, giving it a strong password, and then install it. Then basically you just SSF onto it. It's basically just a connection method. And then basically you're using a command prompt to talk to that machine, and you're installing all the bits that are required for you to have a gaming server. Cost him $90 odd, but you learn about Linux. It showed you all the packages. As soon as it loaded and he put it onto the internet, there was 119 packages for it to update. God knows how old his image was. But that was quite a lot, I thought. But yeah, I like Linux. I just wish I knew more about it. Wish I had more time to learn about it. That's the thing. Yes, it was the Gadget Show that gave me the idea for the question. Finding new questions is getting harder. No, matey, you do a fantastic job, don't get me wrong. And you probably watch more diverse stuff on YouTube. And it's why I think in your blog I'd get a great understanding of some of the areas you look to get your knowledge. But, you know, I do understand some people like to keep it to themselves. Some people want to keep their blog short. All that sort of stuff. Totally get it. I hear that Half-Life Alyx is a good one. A good use of AI, but until the price drops, it's going to remain out of reach for the vast majority of people. Yes, my C64 challenge went live Saturday night, so you might not have caught it before you recorded your blog. I don't tend to put request streams on YouTube, though, so for that, you do need to go to Twitch. The last 3 months, I think, are available to watch should you desire, and you don't need an account. My question for you: given the rapid progress we've seen in computer technology in the last 40 years, bloody hell, man, 40 years, yeah, what are your standout wow moments that pleasantly surprised you with specific leaps at the time? Wow. You see, as a youngster, it was all about speed with me. It was like, oh, that graphic card, that Matrox G400, great, but I need a 3DFX card. Then I'd get that, and then I'd be going, oh, but there's Power VR, I'll try that, and I did that. And oh, my hard drive, I need a 10,000 RPM. I don't need this 7,500. I need a Barracuda Black or something, right? And then there was I've got to have my CD drive, but it's got to be it's got to be smart, a smart one. It was all slot in. Let me think. Wow moments. The biggest wow moment I got, and I've mentioned this before, and I said it because nobody talks about it, right, was the way that sound changed on a PC. Now, I went from PC speaker to AdLib to Creative Sound Blaster, but the biggest leap was speaker to what they call an AWE64 card. It was a Sound Blaster AWE64. And the reason I wanted that card so badly was the MIDI. It was MIDI, right? And not only was it MIDI, okay, which Graphics Ultrasound and all of those all had a type of MIDI. It used sound fonts. And even now, with my Mister, I've got a add-on that gives me MIDI, right? And it uses sound fonts. I can connect that and I can listen to game music with real instruments, or sounding as close as it can with real instruments based on sound font technology. So yeah, that would be a biggie. IDE to PCI Express was a wow. Yeah. Used to have these great big massive long cards that fitted into the IDE slot. It's a slot on your board, you can't miss it. PCI Express came along at 16 times 16 speed. Half the form factor. Your graphic cards then look like a great big long thing with just a small sort of like card that's slotted in. And you thought to yourself, that bus must be absolutely buzzing when that's talking to the CPU. It goes to a south or north bridge into your CPU. The bus speed was increased. So PCI Express, yeah, that's definitely up there. And then, of course, if we're talking speed, when we move from HD to SSD, solid state drives, fantastic. When we move to movable platters into memory, we basically got the joy of incredibly fast access times. In fact, the PC is lacking a little bit because even an SSD drive fits into a slot on your board that's 6 gigabits a second. It could be faster, but PCs are backwardly compatible, so basically you still see 6 gig. And what can I say? Probably the biggest one for me, working in business, that is, was USB. When we moved away from our standard 8-pin, 12-pin, and parallel ports and so forth, USB did it for me. Just slotting in one little adapt card, one little port into your USB slot, and it recognized instantly via the hardware recognition. USB really has got to be a wow moment. We neglect it a little bit now. It's just naturally there. And for many people that are getting into computers now, it's always been there. But if you go back to the PC Juniors, the early Amstrad PCs, the Commodore PCs, all those old type connectors, I'm just so glad they're gone. You know. So yeah. So SCSI, you know, which is what I was trying to talk about earlier for my CD drive, was also something that was pretty big for me when I was using scanners. SCSI cards were great, but a SCSI hard drive and a SCSI CD-ROM drive was equally as, to me, great. But I'll tell you what, fiddly to set up. Oh my God. Yeah, I think USB tops it all as a business person. But the most excitement I ever had was my SoundBlast, my AWE64 card. I think I've got about 3 of them floating about. One's definitely in this machine here, but I think I've got 2 that are just floating about that I've took out of older machines and haven't put them into other machines. I really ought to get round to doing that. They're terribly hard to set up under Windows 10 and 11. You can just about do it. It's a shame. Sound now is inbuilt now into most motherboards. Nobody bothers with sound cards anymore. Shame. There you go. That's a fantastic question. You come up with some great questions, Colin. Don't think about that. And that's the end of the comments. Absolutely fantastic. So we're getting close to the end. I'm just going to take one more break and we're going to rush through. Well, not rush. We're going to rush through the next bits. But I'm having so much joy. You can see on my face. It's just this double vision. And that helped a little bit, by the way. I'll have to do that next week. Is it make the text a little bit bigger? Back in a moment, because some people are listening to this, you know, as a podcast. they must be thinking, why are you taking so many breaks? What do you keep mentioning that for? Honestly, I won't be long. So as I said, we're going to get this blog finished and we're going to get to watched on YouTube. So as you know, there's 2 that I always watch, and that's This Week in Retro and Techmoan. Techmoan didn't do anything this week. But then again, he does have, you know, his videos are very, very good, very well edited. A lot of content goes into it, and also sometimes he's repairing things. You can't do it every week. It's very difficult to do. He tries to block it into some being repairs, some being about the history of something. The history of something he can probably do in a week. The repair ones, it must take him weeks, and then he has to do it into just one episode. But anyway, This Week in Retro, the contents were, they're coming right for us. 40 years of fractal rescues. More push it more. Not too bad of a content this week. Like I say, I always get great enjoyment watching This Week in Retro. It sort of compounds everything that's been on YouTube, questions that are raised in community. So there's some good stuff there. And it's nice that Rescue on Fractalus gets a mention again. 40 years, my God, has it been that long? Behind Jaggy Lines, Rescue on Fractalus, my God. We haven't seen really anything like that apart from voxels, maybe. I remember there was a helicopter game that came out close after Rescue on Fractalus that used voxels, and they made a sort of like a real world third person perspective man type thing with voxels. Can't quite remember what the title was, but yeah, voxels then became a big thing and still is actually today. Fractals less so. Shame. Love fractals. Brilliant. Type of mathematics for drawing. Absolutely great. Love it. So other than that, what have I watched? Well, there's always Chronologically Gaming, which my friend Denny pointed me to. He's still in November 82. When he gets to 83, it's going to explode. So it's the right time to sort of like join that channel. He does also a spreadsheet of all the games he's played, and he's played every game up until now, November 82, and it links to the particular element of his channel where those games are being played. But it also gives you a spreadsheet of all the games, so you could actually look at this spreadsheet and try and play those games yourself. He's up to his 370 something Vic-20 game. I mean, my God, all those games he's played. It goes back a number of years, this, so definitely worth looking at his back catalogue. Then I watched something called Glue Cement. Weird name for a channel, but he did, or that person did, North by Northwest film locations. Now, that's one of my favourite films, and it showed you the film and then showed you what it looks like now. Really good, and it actually tries to pan in exactly the same way that they did the shot, so that's good. Worth a buy, I watched because I'm interested in the game Avowed, which we talked about earlier, and he said it at first look, and then he said it's what I expected. Now, I got into a gloom on that. I went, oh, that doesn't sound good. He actually didn't knock it down, because he said there's going to be people out there, and this is quite right, that are going to love this game. It's not for him. He's played 8 hours, which is quite some time, really, when you think about it, but it's not when you consider it's 55 quid. But he said, it's not for me because of all the things that basically Denny mentioned. You know, it's very woke, very, very diverse quality, you know. So yeah, if you can get past that, there's a game, he said. But if you don't, it just looks nice, although artificial. And the mechanics are great. All the spell casting, the crafting, and all of that sort of stuff done to a very, very high level, you know, game of the year type level. But when you've got Kingdom Come Deliverance, why buy this? And I have to look at it like that and go, yeah, you know, right, you're right. This game comes out 2 weeks after Kingdom Come Deliverance, and Kingdom Come Deliverance has stolen its thunder. 2 different games, but when you consider the mechanics of leveling up, crafting, they're the same. And therefore, one has got less woke about it, which is Kingdom Come Deliverance. And therefore, you're going to play that one. And I have to agree. Yeah. Century 21 Films did the sound of Super Marionation. I love Jerry Anderson stuff. I will watch videos on Jerry Anderson Productions all the time, because they'll talk about the music, the puppetry, the sound of it, the look of it, the writing of it, the actors in it, absolutely everything. And of course, I'm a big Jerry Anderson fan, so that's great. And then Dan Malone, who I've mentioned before, he's got a channel called Dan Malone Movies, Music, Monsters. And in this week, it was The Princess Bride. And The Princess Bride is one of my favourite fairy tale type films, you know. There are things like Labyrinth and Never-Ending Story, and I can understand why. There's so many of my friends that go, Never-Ending Story, my favourite kiddies film and all of that. Princess Bride, for me, tops it slightly. And it had a great Mark Knopfler score, but it was the reading of the book by Peter Falk that just did it for me, because I could just imagine me being in bed with my mum and dad reading the book to me, and me coming out and saying, it's not going to be a kissing book, is it? It's not going to be a kissing story. I want monsters, I want dragons, I want flames coming out and charring people and turning them into skeletons and all that sort of stuff. I want kissing, all of that. Yeah, I can imagine it. Absolutely fantastic. So many lines that you can take out of that film as well and repeat, and people know exactly what you're talking about. Fantastic. So those were the standard stuff that I watched on YouTube. But then there's my friends, you know, and a lot of it is film related. The game stuff comes up in my next bit, because they're on my Discord, and my friends, and we play games and look at the nostalgia element of computers and consoles and stuff. So we've got Ian Hill, the Ramblings. As you know, I do something with him every Wednesday. But oh my God, I won't show you the pad, but he takes up like that much of it, right? This is what he's come out with this week, and he's still doing it now. I bet you there's a video out now that I'm not even mentioning on here. That's how good he is, right? He did his top 5 crime films, 1968 to 1974. It came from Beneath the Sea review, Doctor Who Kinder review. Kinder, what a story. We talked about that on Wednesday. The snake dance and Kinder duo episodes. And the BBC just didn't have the money to give it justice. But the Mara were an interesting sort of like entity character. Brilliant, really. Kinder, yeah. X-Files Season 2, Episode 14 review. Whitney Houston music collection. Packages from HMV and eBay. And Live With Me. My God. And like I say, he's probably got another video out there, so go and have a look. I'll probably have to mention it next week, that, because it doesn't fall into today, because I did this Saturday night, right? So there you go. You got Playtendoguy next to, I used to do chats with, and is still a great friend of mine. He did a Switch review of Civilization 7 and a Switch review of Turbo Overkill. Now, I don't know too much about Turbo Overkill, so of course I got more out of that. But Civilization 7, I've played Civilization from the first one, matey. I played Civilization 1. I've got them all up to 6. I haven't got 7 yet. I know how much time I would be putting into that game. My God. On the Switch, I wonder how good it would be on the Switch. So it's worth looking, right? Because I played it on PC with a mouse and keyboard. And that's the way that I've always played it. So maybe that'll work really well on the Switch too. Because I've heard the controllers are mice. That might work. Yeah, touch screen, you see, as well. So, yeah. That was Playtendoguy. Definitely a lovely guy. Definitely worth looking at. Please like his videos. If you can, subscribe. But like at least. Did you see that? Great friend of mine. He did a review of Love Hurts. That's a 2025 film. But he also did a episodic thing he's doing where he's trading in PlayStation games and getting another game to play, and whether it's worth doing that. He's up to episode 3 of that. And that's an interesting series. Definitely worth a watch. Now we've got royalty. My God. Mondo Celovic movies. So much into his horror, so much into his physical media. The go-to guy as far as I'm concerned. There are other people out there, honestly. Euphoria Pictures does a great one. Rock God does a great one as well on horror and so forth. But Mondo Celovic, he's done some more on protective covers. And I've been talking about protective covers for over a year now, saying, please, don't put this cellophane around it. Get these protective covers. They look so much better. They're hard plastic. They're just coated well. Have them. And he's embraced that and started to do that. And then he's been talking speculatively about the next Hammer Horror box set, which we now know what it is, but we don't know what the future of that is going to be. We've been speculating on where the pointers might be on what the next ones might be. And he brought out his Hammer Horror comic collection. And for, a million years BC with Raquel Welch, it's probably going to be one of the ones that will come out. Yes, there's a comic book adaptation of that. So that fits in, as a booklet that could go into it. Fantastic. Definitely worth it. I'm not worthy when I'm talking about Mondo. Same with the others that I've actually mentioned. I wish I knew more about horror like Euphoria and Rock God. But anyway, I digress a little bit. Muckman-Movies is next, and like I say, I missed him last week. What he did last week, he opened up a duplicate film I've got, which I said you could have, and it was Smile. And he actually opened it up, and he's actually watched it now. and he liked it. So I'm so glad that I was able to help a fellow collector. That's what we should be doing in collaboration, helping each other out. I don't need to send something back. If I've got a duplicate of it, give it to somebody else. You know, if I've upgraded from DVD to Blu-ray, give the DVD to a mate. If he likes it, he buys the Blu-ray and passes it on. Keep doing that. I do like the idea of giving things to charity shops, trading them into keks to get something that you want. But how about helping your mates out? You know, if you've got the experience that you've actually seen it and it was good enough for you to expand, maybe somebody else might also love that show that they've never heard of or film and will want to therefore watch that and then love it as much and upgrade as well. That's the way we do things. Absolutely marvellous. So Muckman-Movies got his own channel. Fantastic. He's going to suggest a game for me to play. Oh my God. I don't know if I'm looking forward to that, Muckman. I really not. I can see you going, I'm going to get that bastard back. And he's going to do it, 7 times if I do 7 or 8 rounds like I did last time. Jesus. What's it going to be like? Anyway, and then we've got Jim Jam. You know Jim Jam, I've met him, fantastic little guy. He was a very happy Jim Jam this week because he managed to pick up a CD single of his favourite film, you know, The Never Ending Story. So he bought that Lamal single. I wouldn't be happy, but I can just imagine his face when he got that. Absolutely marvellous. And that's the general stuff I watched on YouTube, that is. And then you got your YouTube. I call it your YouTube, but it's the people that watch this channel the most. You know, the people that are on my Discord, known me for years, want to know whether I've had a good week or not. That's what these people are. And the first one we've got is Down the Rabbit Hole, as I always do. Now, he's brought out Atari 2600, figuring out the mode for a game called Paddlefield. Now, I've never heard of Paddlefield, but it's a homebrew Pong game, and it sounds boring, doesn't it? Pong, oh shit, right? But it's got far more modes. You have to move the paddle around, and it gives you these things. And it turns into sort of like an Arkanoid Breakout type thing. It changes patterns on the screen. For an Atari 2600, wow, what an advanced game. You can imagine when that game, if that game had come out in 1978, 79, that'd be a seller. Oh my God, it would have beaten half the stuff that came out on the Atari 2600. If anybody wants to know what my favourite Atari 2600 game is, it's probably going to be Yar's Revenge. Adventure would be close. I did play Adventure a lot. I do remember playing that a lot. Yar's Revenge, yeah. I do like the Pac-Mans and E.T.s and all of that sort of stuff. Spider-Man was a great game for me. Not for everybody. But, you know, I mean, it was my hero when I was, 8? So a little stick man looking like Spider-Man would have been, you know, like heaven back then for me. So anyway, he also did Arcade 1 Pac-Man collectible. He's got another one of those little arcade machines, miniature ones. He talked about why it was better than he thought because of the way that the joystick was positioned and the buttons. And he also has, I think, Galaxian on there or Galaga, can't quite remember. So it's not just Pac-Man, it's a Namco, I think, collectible. And then he talks about something that I wish I got involved with when I was a kiddie, and that's Dungeons and Dragons. He played something called Star Frontiers. And I've mentioned this before because the only Dungeons and Dragons that I bought were the Marvel ones by TSR. And I had no one to play them with. I think I've still got them. They came with cardboard cutouts, figures, Dungeon Master screen, the instruction rules, all the different books for you to play different versions of the game. It was a massive thing, but it dried out, you know, as Dungeons and Dragons did. His Star Frontiers discussion was about a character in a set of creatures that were in Star Frontiers called the Vrusk, I think. And he talked about how would these people get into a car? How would these creatures get into a car? because they had like 8 legs and things. It was it was just a fun little video. I enjoyed it. Made me smile. Brilliant. Definitely watch him down the rabbit hole. Then you've got Robert's Retro Gaming, Canadian royalty. I am not worthy, as I say all the time. He makes me smile every week because not only is his stuff good, but I bought him a little game, just a little game for Christmas, just to show my appreciation. It was in the sale. Nothing biggie. But I noticed that my friends had it and he didn't. And I thought, oh, maybe you'll get a series out of it. Maybe you'll just like playing it. I don't know. He's up to episode, what's he up to? 13. My God, man. Thank you so much. Every time you do an episode, I'm there. I was there at 2 a.m. once this week, watching his stuff. And he actually sent a text back saying, what are you watching it at this time in the morning for? You should be in bed. It's 2 o'clock. How did he know it was 2 o'clock? He even knows what time zone I'm in. This is how he is with me. Absolutely fantastic guy. Anyway, look, he takes up a big section of my little pad here, right? So he did Minecraft Play episode 132, Subnautica, which I just mentioned before, episodes 11 to 13, Atari 8-bit games, Crystal Raider and Blast, Commodore 64 game Q*bert, and the ZX Spectrum version of Bubble Bobbles. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 games in a week. That's one a day. You know, I mean, we're when people do that, you're never going to get bored. You know what I mean? And some of these things are over an hour long. Some of them about 10-minute shorts. Brilliant. Love the 10-minute shorts. Do that. Watch that in a break at work. Hour-long ones, love them. You know, it's because, you know, you're going to see more deaths. You're going to see the thinking behind everything that they're doing. Brilliant. We played on a Minecraft server once. I missed that. I wanted to do some collaboration with him. Didn't quite work out. It's one of those shame things. But he's going to be there as a friend, thinking about a game for me to play. It's almost the same as collaboration. So brilliant. Then we get to, oh, here we go, Steve's Gaming. Fucking 80s little show, little shit. Yeah. Oh my God, look at this list, right? How Not to Play Elden Ring, episodes 14 to 19. 14 to 19. Hour-long episodes. Jesus. Home soft discs, discs 38 and 39. There's like 10 games on each of these discs, right? BBC Games Not Played, part 9. Bloody hell. I don't know how long that series is going to go on for. Grail of the Gods and Sturgeon Quest on the NES, which was last Sunday because it came out at the same time as this blog did. Then you got the Temple of Apshai trilogy for the Commodore 64, which I have great memories of, but I played the Amiga one probably more than the 64 and was disappointed with the Amiga one because of how bland it looked. But it was the same game. So because of it was the same game, I put hours and hours into it. It worked much better on the Amiga because it was mouse-driven, you know, and everything that you wanted to do was from a drop-down box or a key on your keyboard. So basically I had both methods of doing things. So that's why I like that. And he played also the Gateway of Apshai on the Commodore 64. So he didn't show off the Amiga Temple of Apshai, but he showed off now a number of these type of dungeon crawlers that we all played early on in our lives. And you can see the great enjoyment we had with graph paper and all of that sort of stuff. Absolutely fantastic. Great channel. Just go and, you know, like some of his stuff. We moved then to Colin Jones, aka Ponder, and as I said, I didn't see too much from him the last couple of weeks, and he's explained it's because it's on Twitch, right? But they do move over to YouTube, and I can mention them this week. So Vblog, he did his own blog, episode 82. So he's done 82 blogs. He's a bit behind me, but that's not a bad thing. My God, maybe I do too many. Once a week I do mine. But there we go. He did a Mamemeister high score kerfuffle, which is based on the arcade game Green Beret. It's the start of season 16, something like that. Fantastic. Everything Commodore 64 February challenge, which has been Gods and Heroes. And a Tubers high score challenge, which is based on the game Yomp, which came out on the Atari 8-bit first. I saw the Commodore 64 one. Thought it was good. It's more a tech demo to me than a game. It's Bounder in a tube, basically. But it's a good game. And I've seen it now on the Amiga, I think, or was it the Atari ST? Might be both now, actually. Yomp was, to me, something that looked brilliant a couple of years ago. Now, not so much. But I can understand people's excitement and why they like it. Good stuff. That's Colin Jones. Thank you very much. Salute, sir. Keep up the good work. Then we've got LFC Gamer and Vlogs. Now, he hasn't done a vlog for a while, and he did one last Sunday. But then he did another one. So he did two. So he got two this week. Once on the 8th of the 2nd, once on the 11th of the 2nd. And he's answered some of my questions. And talked about the football, talked about what he's picked up, rants a little bit about how people are, and how YouTube works. You know, it's worth having a little look. It's nice to see somebody vent a little bit, especially if it's constructive, you know. We move on. Thank you so much for that, LFC. We got Seb's Place, who I mentioned before. He did a video this time on the software company Jirel that came out with that Saboteur game that Bob was talking about. They've done more than that. But of course, he talked about the whole of Jirel, why the Spectrum ones were crash smashes, you know, Game of the Month type stuff, and why they were so lackluster on the Commodore 64. They got better on the Commodore 64, but not good enough really to maintain them any longer than they did. Jirel folded late 80s. So, yeah. And then we've got the last one. It's the last of the blog then. Mamemeister, who did Pi 5. He's got a Raspberry Pi 5. But he's downloaded an image of 1 terabyte of games. And he showed them off. And my God, the Pi 5's come along. I believe it's a fast little console, and yeah, makes me think about getting one. And then he did a Friday waffle. Now, I just want to pass on my condolences really to Mamemeister, because my friend Alan had a car accident on Sunday, and he's hurt his car, the wall, the fence of his house, and of course he's got damage, small amount of whiplash damage type thing, bruising. And he's found out that some of the insurance is not covered by it because there's no third party. I find that very strange, that type of insurance. If you skid on the ice, like he said, and you rolled your car, they're not going to pay out on the insurance because there's no third party. In other words, there isn't a person that they can equally sack, you know, or whatever, to get money out of, because they need to win the case for you and then basically get your car repaired, and that other person will pay for it. But if you skid on the ice and roll your car or back into anything, you get nothing, because you can't have the third party person be in the house, you know, the brick wall you went into. So I haven't said in a text, sorry mate, for all the things that were going on, because I thought he's probably got 100 of these already. I didn't want to cause upset by sending yet another one. So I'm doing it in my blog and say, matey, I was thinking of you all this week. That's the end of the blog. We're going to do the bits now where this has arrived this week and some trailers. And like I say, nothing really has come through. It's been a very lackluster time. We'll do the overhead cam again. So we've got a steelbook look of an old film called Constantine, which is a DC comic very devil horror related. Not a bad film, but that's really quite nice. It's got embossing, spot glossing, really quite a nice steelbook to have. I'll just show that again. Maybe you can see the embossing. All those flames are raised and lowered. You can't really see it. It's a shame. And then one that Playtendoguy talked about in his channel, but it came out on the Monday, so of course I only got mine on Monday, so he got his as an early copy, but it's called Project Silence. It's a foreign film, but it's all set based on a bridge and these dogs. It's really quite a nice film, actually. I have watched it. You'll see the trailer of it shortly. Don't be put off by the foreign part of the film. It really is quite good. It's a survivor film. And then this is very important to me, very important to the industry, but it's going to mean nothing really to you guys. But this is the omnibus of The Amazing Spider-Man, but it's volume 6. You don't get very often a singular character reading from issue 1 to now in a volume with a volume 6. So this covers Amazing Spider-Man 181 to 205. So we're now in the 200 bracket. Now what you have to understand about Spider-Man is whenever a young reader comes along and says, where can I start? The old guard, which is people like me, will say the first 200 of Spider-Man is quintessential reading. And this goes up to 205. So if you've bought all 6 volumes, you've got basically what the old guard think of must-reads. The rest have got some great stories, don't get me wrong. But this now covers the first 200 all the way through, with the special 200th issue just there. The cover you can see is based on that one there. Front cover. These are slip covers. Underneath it there's a leather bound type book or a leather effect type book. Look lovely on the shelves. Absolutely fantastic. So we go back to my new camera, and I call it new camera, it's old now, and I'll just get ready the film, make sure it plays. It does. So I'm going to shut the mic up now, put the videos on, and you can watch some of these are all trailers of stuff I've watched this week, or I've received as steelbooks this week. Not always have I watched those, although most of the stuff in steelbook I've seen. So I'm going to shut up and let you watch the trailers. I'm back in a moment.
A New York City cop on the trail of a killer. From the back alleys of Manhattan
Well, our victims are certainly Yakuza.
to the streets of Japan.
Because of your negligence, the man we wanted for a long time has been lost.
Now, come on, we'll take some of the heat for this, but we're not taking the rap.
Rap?
You see, there's a war going on here between Sato and an old-time boss named Sugai. And they don't take prisoners.
So where's your boss? This isn't New York. We have rules here.
I've seen Sato's work, okay? He ain't following your program.
You are foreigners, nothing more than interested observers.
No one's gonna help a Gaijin.
Gaijin?
You're a barbarian, a foreigner, me and you. More you.
Try to work like a Japanese.
Now, this is good, but this ain't money. You got a counterfeiting war going on, guys.
You are civilians here. It is illegal for you to carry a gun.
Something tells me we should cut our losses and let the locals handle it around here.
I can't go back without him, Charlie.
Come on!
it together! The guy's getting away!
You have no part in this.
I am the solution to your problems. Well, it's not over yet.
Here I am, Nick!
We can get him, boss. You and me.
Michael Douglas, Black Rain.
Sure about this?
No. When I was a kid, I could see things. Things humans aren't supposed to see. What if I told you that God and the devil made a wager? Kind of a standing bet for the souls of all mankind.
I tell you to stay on your meds.
Demons stay in hell. Angels in heaven.
When a half-breed breaks the rules, I deport their sorry ass straight back to hell. This isn't the usual game. I can feel it. Something's coming.
You need to see what you see.
There's no turning back.
The road to salvation begins tonight.
Into the light I command thee.
This world is mine. Hi. My name's John.
I guess God has a plan for all of us.
So I've heard.
프로젝트 사일런스. 타겟 입력 시작합니다.
무슨 일이야? 대답해!
살 수 있다. 살 수 있다.
야, 도망가!
혹시 사일런스 프로젝트라고 알고 계십니까? 청와대에서 승인했던 프로젝트.
지금부터 타겟 말고 아무도 얘기하면 안 돼. 자, 다들 정신 차리고.
조디야, 너도 잠깐 숨 참자.
August 14th, notes on experiment designated X. Experimental subject, myself, James Xavier.
X, the most fantastic experiment you have ever taken part in, presents Ray Milland in his most challenging role since his Academy Award-winning Lost Weekend. X, the man with the X-ray eyes.
Are you all right? It's like a splitting of the world. More light than I've ever seen. Filled with light.
X, the man with the X-ray eyes, tries to help the most desperate in our society. and enjoys all the delights of secretly studying sexology.
Headache?
No, it's just my eyes.
A doctor with the power to see what others cannot believe. He can overcome the unknown, save lives, and invade the glamour gambling casinos of Las Vegas and defy the goddess of chance.
Don't draw. Don't draw. Next card's a face card.
Harry, you better go for the sheriff right now. Push up your sleeve.
No!
Yeah, and there we go with the trailers. Black Rain, what a film. Unusual for Ridley Scott. He'd done a film, Someone to Watch Over Me, which is probably the closest thing to it, but it's a very gritty American, then turned to Japan. And I would think that would do a brilliant 4K on that. The neon in Japan would be brilliant, and the end scene with the bikes and the plants growing in the fields, you can see it in the trailer, would look wonderful 4K. Not so much the American scenes, a little bit gritty, a little bit dirty, a little bit dull looking. HDR brings out colours and makes, blacks are really black and white is white. The resolution obviously would be there, but I've got a Blu-ray of that, love it. I've got the Laserdisc of it. I've still got my VHS of it. My God. Yeah, Black Rain's one of my favourites. Underrated Ridley Scott film. Underrated, definitely. Man with X-ray eyes. I've got a digital copy. I've got a DVD copy. I missed the Blu-ray. I'm waiting for that to arrive from HMV. It's out of stock. I only knew about it because a friend of mine, Denny, posted a picture in my Discord. I didn't know about it. I'm sure if it had told me it was out, I'd have ordered it. But we haven't been able to chat, so it's another thing I've missed. Constantine, a DC comic turned into a film. Interesting concept. Angels, devils, a half-breed that can see between the two worlds. Yeah. Good film. Project Silence. Playtendoguy knows more about that than I do. Horror sort of action on a bridge, survival type thing. Foreign language, but looks lovely. I'm intrigued. I really want to see it. So I'm going to get to see that this afternoon. And with that, I'm ending the blog. Next week, Year 4, Episode 1. I haven't got anything new really at the moment. I wish after 4 years I'd have an introduction, one of those things that all my friends have got. Steve's Gaming's got a intro. Ian Hill, The Rambling's got an intro. All of the big ones have got that. And I've never really gotten around to doing any type of animation intros or a tune. You can imagine the tune, can't you? Del Boy's new blog. He's a little sod. Talks a bit too much. We hope you have some, whatever. I've no idea. You know what I mean? Something, but I haven't got round to that yet. I'd have loved to have introduced that. I could just imagine me doing those Kenny Everett little bits, you know, where he used to do these singing bits. You say, not bad, not bad. That blog was not too bad. Yeah. Something like that. But you never know. Maybe I can muster something up with the Yeti Mike's voices and stuff. You never know. And with that, I'm going to say salute. I hope you like this. I hope you hit the like button, whatever, all of that sort of stuff. And with that, can't wait till next week, year 4, episode 1. Let's go out there. Salute, my friends. Bye-bye.